This morning, 5 people were injured. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. What started as a bar fight between 2 groups of people ended as a hit and run. Police say the fight started inside this Mississauga bar around 3 a.m. Staff security escorted the customers out, but then the fight continued on the sidewalk. One of the men involved left, pulled his car up beside the crowd, then got out of his car and continued fighting. Eventually, he got back into his car and drove straight at the crowd. One woman in her 20s was taken to hospital with serious injuries. 2 others were transported with non-life-threatening injuries, and 2 were treated at the scene. Police say they don't know what started the fight.
It's definitely going to be assault with a weapon, fail to remain. Anyone with any information, so witnesses, video surveillance, dash cam footage, any information that you can provide, please contact our 12 Division Criminal Investigation Bureau.
Police released these images of the suspect earlier today. He's believed to be driving a dark-colored Acura with no license plate. Well, even if you're finished all your Christmas shopping, you might still have some last-minute wrapping to do. But if you want to be mindful of waste this holiday season, you should hold off reaching for shiny paper and ribbons. Natalie Nanowski shows us some alternative gift wrapping options.
It's called futoshiki wrapping, which is the Japanese art of cloth wrapping, and it sounds super fancy.
But after 4 simple knots, your package is done. And best part?
And then this can be a gift as well, the scarf can.
Sophie Robertson's Zero Waste Events Company proves that you can use twigs and recycled paper to spruce up your Christmas gifts.
Why is it so important to kind of reuse what we have lying around at home?
Because we have so much out there already.
And over the holidays, it just piles up. The average Canadian family throws out 25 to 45% more this time of year. Most of it is due to gifts.
Everybody's favorite wrapping paper, very beautiful, very pretty, can't be recycled, shiny, glossy composite material.
Recycling experts say the same goes for ribbons and bows.
If it's shiny, it's probably better off in the garbage bin.
But before you toss your gift bags in, save them for next year. As for tape, try to avoid it.
Just by virtue of being sticky, it gets caught in the equipment. It's kind of viewed as like a multi-material or multi-product type within the system. So sometimes the sortation may not be able to figure out what it is.
And all that extra packaging your online gifts came in, separate the garbage from the recyclables. The Retail Council of Canada says it is actively working with companies to make them more sustainable.
If a product material or package material is identified that isn't readily recyclable, then either that material is either substituted, reduced, or removed.
Until then, get a little creative with your wrapping. And remember, it's what's on the inside that counts. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
If wrapping gifts hasn't even crossed your mind because you're still buying gifts, you're among thousands of other last-minute shoppers scrambling at GTA malls today.
We do every year, and we always say it's never going to happen again, but lo and behold, here we are. Actually, this year we're a little bit better. Usually wait till Christmas Eve, but today we're a day ahead of the game. So,
because everyone seems to be in a good mood and in the Christmas spirit, so we actually, even though we have to battle the crowds a bit more, we actually enjoy the atmosphere of the Christmas season.
Tomorrow will be the real final stretch before the malls close for Christmas Day. A reminder that most stores and services will be shut down for the holiday. That's until Boxing Day, when malls will be flooded once again, this time for the deals. And Amanda Weldon joins us now from the Weather Network with the first look at our weather. For some reason, your name is always a tongue twister to me. I don't know why. But Amanda, the last 4 days has felt like one long, cloudy, cold day.
Oh, I know, right? So maybe that's why people want to get in the shopping mall. It's bright, it's shiny, it's beautiful.
True.
But you know what? We have more cloud cover. I'm sorry, Talia. -1, it feels like -7. We've got a westerly flow in place, but okay. I'm okay with the cloud cover if we get a little bit of snow with this, right? Because I'm going to ask you next time, Talia, what Christmas song you think our Toronto forecast classifies as. We are going to get some flurries in the mix here, and even Dad sent me a message saying, hey, be careful on the roads out there because they are getting slick just with a little bit of a disturbance. We have a clipper moving on through, has moved on through the prairies, very quick at that and not bringing too much, but it is changing the wind direction. So with that, off the shores of Huron, Georgian Bay, if you're heading up to the cottage, heading up north, that's where you could accumulate just a little more. And note, around the lakes as well, we get gustier winds, especially through Monday, so blowing snow could be a part of your weather story. So just being careful out on the roads, giving a little bit of patience, and we will move into our Monday afternoon conditions where messy conditions also continue. So I'll have a little bit more of a long range when we come back next.
Thanks, Amanda.
No problem.
A North York family is wishing for a Christmas miracle this year. They want to thank a flight attendant who helped them in a moment of need just as they were settling into Canada. And as Adrian Chung tells us, it's a meeting that they've been hoping for decades.
I remember this house.
Do you remember sleeping there?
Photos of the Pan family are starting to yellow and fade, but the memory of a pivotal moment in their family's history hasn't been forgotten.
It's one of these things that, we always talk about, whenever we have family get-togethers. Hey, remember when you first arrived in Canada, that what happened? And we kind of, joke about it.
At just 4 years old, Michael Pan and his mother Hu Wei landed in a strange and unknown land, Canada. It was November of 1984. They flew from Hong Kong to start a new life and to join Michael's father, who lived in Montreal. But with a pit stop in Toronto along the way, their plans suddenly had a hiccup.
My mom, not speaking English, not understanding the announcements that were happening in French or English, saw a bunch of people getting off the plane. So she thought, well, I guess this is what we're doing. This is my stop. So she gets off and she finds herself in the wrong city.
Long before the age of texting and emails, the young mother and son were lost at Pearson International Airport. An Air Canada flight attendant flew into their panic and came to their rescue.
There was a flight attendant who was helping, doing some of this sort of translating, that took in my brother and took in my mom, took them to her home, gave them a place to stay, fed them, and then made sure they got back to the airport the next day.
It's an act of kindness that has stayed with the family for 35 years.
This kind of fairy godmother, this angel that kind of came down and kind of helped us through a tough situation. And I think at the end of it, that's kind of what people go through and what people latch onto it. So that's a month after I landed there.
In the time since, the Pan family built a life in Canada, but that flight attendant who came to their aid, the Pans never found out who she was. Now, more than 3 decades later, they've started a social media campaign to find her and to thank her.
Without what you have done for us, things would have been very different for us. I'd like to kind of tell her my life story. I'd like to be able to let her know that her 12 hours of helping us through kind of carried through the next 35 years.
Already, Air Canada has gotten in touch with them to help with their sleuthing, to solve a story that is especially Canadian.
It was a very special moment for her to not see color, not see language, not see race, just see a woman who needed help and then go to her attention and help her.
Adrian Chung, CBC News.
The RCMP is taking steps to revamp its recruiting process to deal with the staffing crunch. Documents obtained by CBC News reveal some background checks will be scrapped. The changes are aimed at enticing a wider range of candidates to join the force. Catherine Tunney explains.
Canada's National Police Force, the RCMP, is trying to convince more women and visible minorities to don the red serge. And according to a document obtained by CBC through Access to Information Laws, basically every part of the recruitment strategy is on the chopping block while they try to reach that goal. So this document flags various questions the RCMP should be asking itself as they try to recruit more women and members of visible minorities. For example, it flags the idea right now if you want to be a cadet, you have to go to the depot in Regina and train for 26 weeks. And it flagged if you're a single parent, if you're any kind of parent, that's a long time away from your family. Maybe that would stop you from wanting to be a police officer. It flagged things like the aptitude test, credit checks. Are those things that are really needed in order to serve and protect Canadians? Now, this review process is the brainchild of Vaughn Charlton. She's the gender-based analysis executive within the RCMP. And she said that term, gender-based analysis, is really just trying to point out any kind of barrier that's keeping people away from applying.
You know, if we're going to have mandatory requirements, we want to make sure that we're not creating unintended barriers for reasons that really have nothing to do with whether you be a great police officer.
Right now, people with criminal background checks can't apply to be a Mountie, and that ban is actually being looked at as part of this review. Now, it comes at a time when the RCMP is grappling with a growing vacancy rate. It's actually one of the issues that was flagged to Commissioner Brenda Lucki when she took over the job earlier this year. Now, right now, about 22% of the regular members are women, a number that the RCMP would like to boost. Now, this review is ongoing, and the RCMP said it doesn't have a deadline when we'll find out the results just yet. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Ottawa.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canadian peacekeepers are making a difference in Mali. In fact, he's calling the mission in that war-torn country a success. We'll have the details after the break. Without warning, waves more than 3 meters high crashed into the Indonesian islands of Java and Sumatra last night, catching thousands of people by surprise and killing at least 222. That number may rise dramatically. Renee Filipponi has the latest.
The ground didn't shake. There were no alarm signals and no time to run. This woman was watching TV when she heard a rumbling sound. She says the water came in quickly and dragged her out. When it started receding, she decided to run, and then the water came back for a second time. First responders on the ground are not only dealing with colossal material damage, but their own shock.
Last night it was quite strange because I can see that the level of the water was high, and then there's a rumbling sound. It was not only sound, but also vibration.
The affected area is busy this time of year. Tourists flock to the beach towns for the holidays. For locals, like this woman, it's incomprehensible. We were all set up for Christmas, she says, but it's been destroyed by the waves. The rest has been stolen. What am I going to do, she asks. And perhaps the images that best articulate the shock of it all, this widely circulated video showing Indonesian pop band 17 performing when the waves struck. Today, the lead singer released this video, clearly emotional, speaking about band members that were killed and others connected with the group that are still missing. And today, a second panic after a false alarm said another tsunami was coming, adding fear to the pain of losing family and homes. Many now don't want to go home. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is calling Canada's dangerous mission in Mali a significant success, but he won't extend it despite a United Nations appeal. Trudeau insists that even though the mission is short, it is making a difference. Murray Brewster tells us about the whirlwind visit.
It is called the golden hour, the time most critical for successful emergency treatment. And Canada has put a new spin on it for its peacekeeping mission in Mali, bringing the trauma room to the patients as opposed to the other way around.
We've been working really hard for a long time on this capability. It's new. It's the first time that Canada has ever put doctors and nurses to the front lines.
It is both stressful and exhilarating for Lieutenant Jennifer Loy, a critical care nurse from Vancouver.
All of a sudden, the things that I'm doing there, I have to do in a very small space with a lot of kit on.
It is making treatment swifter and more effective.
We're able to do damage control resuscitation with our blood products and medications, giving the patients a greater chance of survival.
Since arriving here in August, Canadian helicopters have conducted 5 aeromedical evacuations. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but there are those that argue that having medical teams on standby is important because of the number of casualties that have taken place in this mission.
All the UN operations are able to be more effective, are able to do more because there is that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week backup.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got a ride along during the weekend, witnessing a simulated casualty pickup with German troops playing the parts of the wounded. He insisted it is a meaningful contribution, yet refuses to extend the one-year mission timeline as requested by the UN.
Part of that way Canada can best help involves taking on an operation, demonstrating how it could be done in the absolute best possible way, and helping others gain in those capacities.
How that went over with the Prime Minister of Mali this weekend is unclear. They met during Trudeau's 4-hour visit. They discussed surging violence and the struggling peace process in the increasingly dangerous nation.
These helicopters will come home next summer, just before the next federal election. And Canadians are going to be left to judge if this one peace support mission has truly accomplished anything lasting and whether Canada is truly back on the world stage. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Gao, Mali.
This is day 2 of a partial U.S. government shutdown, and there's no end in sight to the closure. Dozens of U.S. federal agencies and departments are closed, caught in the crossfire of a fight between Democrats and Donald Trump. This is over funding for his border wall. Despite the holidays, the president is hunkering down and digging in. Ron Charles reports.
The national Christmas tree in the park behind the White House sits off limits, the lights out. Perhaps a fitting symbol for the kind of Christmas almost 800,000 federal employees could face without pay.
This is a passion for us, serving the American public. And with these continual threats of a shutdown, it's very demoralizing.
There is still a chasm of disagreement between Trump and Congress over spending for a southern border wall, his key campaign promise.
There is frankly no path towards his getting $5 billion in American taxpayer money to meet his campaign promise of a big, beautiful wall with Mexico. There is a path towards our responsibly appropriating about $1.3 billion for border security.
There are now indications from the White House that Trump is willing to budge on the amount as long as the wall is funded. His acting chief of staff wouldn't say by how much.
Yeah, I will tell you this. They are at 1.3 yesterday. We were at $5 billion a couple of days ago, and the counter offer that we gave them yesterday was between those two numbers.
It's a spectacle.
One Republican senator who frequently criticizes Trump calls the shutdown juvenile.
This is a made-up fight, so the president can look like he's fighting, but even if he wins, our borders are going to be insecure.
Trump put his Christmas holiday in Florida on hold to stay in Washington during the impasse. After heading home to their holiday yesterday, U.S. lawmakers won't be able to hold another vote on a spending bill to reopen the government before Thursday at the earliest. But many are predicting the shutdown will last into the new year, when the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, making it even more difficult for Trump to implement his agenda. Ron Charles, CBC News, Washington.
I've been challenging my colleagues to do something. This is a joy to do it.
A challenge issued for businesses to step up their holiday giving. More from this restaurant owner who opened his doors to those in need after the break. 4 million lights transforming a Croatian estate into a Christmas spectacle. Thousands visit this family home every year. The man behind the attraction says his electrical bill is measured in the thousands of dollars, an annual tradition that began in 2001 with only 70,000 lights. And Amanda is back with our extended forecast. Amanda, I've given it some thought, and I think I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, the Louis Armstrong version, represents the Toronto weather forecast because I think a lot of Torontonians would like to see some snow.
I think you nailed it right on the head, because that's what I was hoping for. Monday evening, -1, and Talia, you're so right. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas is what is on all of our minds. Check this out. So this actually changed a little bit from yesterday when we chatted. So no chance now for Windsor, Fredericton, Montreal, out of the no chance. But hey, Toronto, you got that slight chance still on the docket for you. So here we go. This is how we could accumulate some snow for our Christmas day. Future radar comes on through. We're talking Monday, Sunday into Monday, so the drive tonight may be a little bit dicey. If you are heading out on the roads, just be aware you could be seeing some snow. So into what we're talking, our future radar, what happens, a clipper comes on through, tracks on by, but not a lot behind that system. So what we need is a couple of centimeters on the ground and just some cooler conditions. The good news is we're actually around the seasonal mark. I just want to talk quickly about the next one to come. It's going to be a messy system late in the week, but check this out. In our 7-day forecast, do you see something that's not like the other ones? Well, 7 degrees. We will continue to track that weather story with you, but as for Monday, still some snow could be a part of the possibility for you. Tuesday, Christmas Day, a lovely day to grab the hot cocoa, grab the family, whoever you got, and go for a walk.
Good advice, no matter the weather. Thank you, Amanda.
No problem.
An upscale restaurant in downtown Toronto opened its doors today to offer free dining. Biagio Ristorante welcomed locals who may not have been able to enjoy a holiday celebration otherwise. Patrons were treated to a 3-course meal and table service. We caught up with the owner, who's challenging other businesses to step up their game. Have a look.
It felt warm and special.
Every year I came here to celebrate holiday season. The food is good, the place is good, everybody is good.
This is one of the great examples of being a Canadian.
I'm very extremely proud of my parents and the fact that they do this year after year. It's a great example of the humble person that my dad is, always giving back to the community.
I've been challenging my colleagues to do something. You know, this is a joy to do it. It's not price or cost of it. It's just, it's a simple things to do, but you have to put your heart into it.
I just want to wish the bistro and the patrons for putting this on for people like myself that are having no Christmas, and with the love of all the volunteers that are here, I just want to say a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all the best to all of you. You are like a second family to me.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.